Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth podcast. I'm Jack Smith.
I'm Shrikar Gendran.
I'm Anish Gupta.
In today's episode, we're going to be going over some hot takes, unpopular opinions, and just some bold statements about the NFL that we may disagree or agree with. Who knows? Shrikar, do you want to start us off with your first hot take?
All right. Okay, so my first one doesn't really deal with a team or like a player.
Oh, this is about to be bad. All right, go.
My first hot take. A number 7 seed will make the Super Bowl in 2020.
Wow. Okay.
Well,
Okay,
we're starting off with a really terrible.
Wait. And NFC and AFC, right? Both conferences? Just one of them.
Or just one.
Okay.
Probably from the NFC since the conference is stacked, but
Yeah. Okay. That's not
It's
a
not
bad
bad.
take. Yeah. I think it's been a long time since like a 6 seed or a 5 seed has gone far. I think the most recent one that I can think of that had a really good chance was like the New York Giants in 2016. They were 11-5.
there have been 2 number 6 seeds make the Super Bowl. 2005 Steelers, 2010 Packers.
What
Yeah,
seed
but
did
that's
the Titans
again, that's a
get?
And for what it's worth, both of those 6 seeds won the Lombardi Trophy. So I mean,
But that's again
with this
that's
new
two-
format-
Only four teams have won a Super Bowl, being a wild card team. Or sorry, 6 have won it as a wild card team. I think 4 were 6 seeds. But I think back to what I was saying, like the Giants, Jack, they were 11-5. They were the 5th seed. They'd beaten the Cowboys twice that year. I think you guys remember that. That was Dak
Yeah.
Prescott's only 2 losses in his rookie year. I thought they had a chance to make the NFC Championship if they could have just gotten out of Green Bay. Obviously, it didn't work out. They went to Miami. They honestly messed it all up, and OBJ got his kind of choking name attached to him. So I mean, it's not a bad take. Like, could I see a 7 seed? There's a lot. I think in the NFC, you're right. It's a higher chance there.
see,
But-
here's the thing, because first I want to look at the NFC South because, the New Orleans is the class, I guess, of the NFC South. But the Buccaneers, you got Atlanta. They both have the talent to make a Cinderella run. The Arizona Cardinals, they're in that loaded NFC West.
Whoa.
They could make
I
a
think
run.
that's Cardinals. I think I think it's a bit blown out of proportion.
Okay,
I don't.
yeah.
See, but here's the thing. They're in a loaded NFC West. Teams like Seattle, Houston, they got this megastar quarterback who can carry
But they're
a
too
team.
young. The Cardinals are way
The
too
Titans have already shown they can play
Yeah,
giant killer.
Titan-
I wouldn't count it
the
out.
Titans are fine, but there are some teams where it's like they're too young. Like Atlanta, I give you because they've been to a Super Bowl before and they have most of their core intact. And
Sure.
I think the Falcons are a very interesting team that could do it. Obviously, the Bucks, if let's say they start off slow, right? Because new system, they're trying to work things in, right? For me, at least in the NFL, it's not about how you start; it's how you finish. I think we've said that before. Countless examples with players and teams, right? If a team gets hot towards the end of the year, like Tennessee did, you can make a far run. So there are definitely teams that I could see, right? Tampa Bay being one of them. If they start, they have a very, very interesting schedule, right? For example, they start off with the Saints, then they kind of have those tough games here and there with Green Bay, Kansas City. So if they can finish strong, I mean, that's one team maybe. But yeah, that's not. I think it is an unpopular opinion. I think it's a very, very bold statement. But I don't really see it as being out of the question. Jack, what do you
And
think?
I know that this change, having a third wild card slot, only the number 1 seed in the AFC and NFC gets a first round bye. I mean, that's undoubtedly bringing complaints that the postseason's being watered down, if that makes sense, that a 7-9 team will get in at some point. But I mean, the opposite is also true. I looked this up, but since 2002, 9 teams have won 10 games but missed the playoffs. And under this new format, 8 of those teams would have gotten in. So I mean, it's not out of the question for me. I think a number 7 seed could make the Super Bowl.
I mean, I think it's
Doc, what are your thoughts?
you got to look at the teams that could be a number 7 seed in the AFC. You got teams like the Browns who could be there at 7, the Chargers, the Broncos. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the AFC it's a little bit less likely for an AFC team to do it, but in the NFC, in such stacked divisions, you could
I
have
agree.
the Buccaneers as a 7 seed. The
Yeah.
Seahawks could be a 7
NFC
seed.
is
could be.
stacked.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
There's just so many contenders there. Philly could be.
Minnesota,
I mean, there's
Green Bay,
Minnesota, right?
Chicago,
Yeah,
all those teams.
I think it's a very interesting take. But yeah, sticking with the NFC, this one is a really weird one. And I know my friend Nick is not gonna like this pick, but
Oh,
this is
no.
a bold take. The Packers will not win their division. Now, hear me out. So they won 13 games last year, right? And Jack and I kind of agreed on this. It was an iffy 13 wins. They didn't feel like a 13-win team to me.
It looked
right?
like a 9-7 team with a 13-3 record.
Yeah, and
true.
I mean, you got to shout out Colin Coward because I know you got that from him.
Yeah.
But yes, they were kind of disguised as a 13-win team. But they did hold their ground at home. They did beat Seattle, albeit Seattle did not have a running back, and they did almost pull it out.
Yeah.
And that Jimmy Graham first down, it was iffy. It could have gone either way, but football's a game of inches. That's just how it goes. But I'm looking at this next year, right? Chicago is a really, really interesting team, and I know Chris is out there hoping for the Bears to do something this year. But you've got a lot of firepower there in Chicago, and I mean, who knows how the experiment is going to work? I mean, you can't get worse than what Trubisky did last year, right? The offense really can't get worse. And I am very, very high on Allen Robinson. I think he is finally picked up where he left off in Jacksonville. A lot of people wrote him off. Ever since that 1,414 touchdown season. Players or people around the league were expecting him to just take off, kind of like DeAndre Hopkins did. But both of them actually fell short, except DeAndre Hopkins is picked off and where he left off in that season, obviously established himself as a top 3 receiver. Allen Robinson has not really done that. Obviously, he tore his ACL his last year in Jacksonville, but with Chicago, he's found a new life. And I think he can make this Bears offense potent. Minnesota is a team that has it's a really tough team. I see them. It's really tough because they changed a lot of their roster.
I was thinking if anyone had the chance to dethrone Green Bay as the kings of the NFC North, I was going to say the Vikings rather than the Chicago Bears.
I think, but the Vikings are too young. That's not overall. I mean, they have their main kind of players intact, but I mean, 15 draft picks, right?
They had to.
I believe that they can all make instant impacts, though.
I
believe they can all make instant impact.
I don't think a lot of their players, a lot of their picks that they made, I don't see them as instant impact. Like Ezra Cleveland,
Justin Jefferson for me can make an instant impact.
Jefferson and Ezra are two instant impact. But yeah, those are 3. But again, there's 15 that they picked, and all the players that they let go of 4 very, very solid starters, right? Griffin, Alexander, Trey Waynes. They lost Zendejo, who's a very good safety, who's a good plug-in type player, right? But I think, we can all agree that the Packers, at least, they should be the favorites. I think we can all agree there. They still have their Lambeau Field. They're a very good team at home. But I don't think we should rule it out that, Chicago or Green Bay could take it over. Now, that being said, this one is actually one of my favorite takes.
Can I stay on the Packers for a second?
Oh, yeah, sure. What do you
I actually agree with that take, and I'm going to take it a little bit farther, go even bolder. What about if the Packers don't even make the playoffs? Because I can see.
Wow.
See, here's the thing.
Very tough thing.
For better or worse, Green Bay is essentially the same team we saw a year ago.
Yeah.
So but I think they appear primed for at least some regression. But the thing is, I think that's otherworldly to say that they're not going to make the playoffs at all.
I can see what you're saying in the sense that here's what I think when you said that. I'm assuming you're saying that the NFC teams have gotten better while the Packers have stayed here. Right?
And
the other NFC
they got
teams
a little
have gotten
bit
better
worse with the new turmoil.
And they got a little bit worse, if anything.
So I don't know. I think the turmoil is a bit overrated. Yes, it's there. I think if I'm Aaron on Undisputed, Shannon Sharp said something like this. Aaron Rodgers he's probably not going to go out of his way to help Jordan Love. Now, we don't know what he's going to do, but I'm assuming he's not going to go up to Jordan Love and, give him the blueprint, give him the details. He's not going to go up to him. If Jordan Love asks him something, he should feel obliged to answer. But I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to go out of his way to help him develop. I think there's 2 different things there, right? And much like Brett Favre did, he didn't go out of his way to help Aaron Rodgers, right? He didn't sit down with him as much as he could have. I think it was just Aaron Rodgers learned by himself, kind of groomed under it, and then under McCarthy, he just took off. But I think it's a very, very similar yet different situation with Jordan Love. So I can see your take on it, but I mean, there's still a team that has veteran presence, and Jair Alexander is only going to get better. They have young guys that are going to get better, right? The 2 Smiths worked out perfectly. It was a big free agent splash that really turned out well. So it's a very tough thing to say that they won't make the playoffs. I just think they won't be as high of a seed, and I just think that they might be a wild card team. But sticking with the NFC North, it's a bit I know we're kind of staying there. If you guys had something else to add on, feel free before I say this. But this is something I think is really, really interesting here. What are your guys' thoughts on this? So Adam Thielen was a player that was injured last year, right? He had a lot of injuries, wasn't really consistent. But 2 years ago, right, this was the dude who had 9 straight 100-yard games, right? He was establishing himself. Now, my take on this, I say Adam Thielen doesn't not just make a Pro Bowl, but he makes an all-pro team. And I think first or second, I don't know, but 4 receivers make it, a grand total of 4. And I think he takes one of those spots. What are you guys' thoughts?
I'm just thinking of the other receivers in the league who are potentially going to get it over him. It's not a horrible take.
See, so all pro is not based on names. That's why I wanted to differentiate it. When
Pro
I
Bowl
chose the
definitely
receiver,
is though.
Pro Bowl is sure, but all pro, for example, Justin Simmons who did not make was not making a name for. I don't know if he made the Pro Bowl or not eventually, but I know he didn't make it initially. But he did make an all pro team. Same with Jack Conklin as a rookie was selected first team all pro despite not being a Pro Bowler. So there have been cases where players have made a very good statistical season, get overlooked in the Pro Bowl. But when it comes to all pro teams, which is a lot more analytic based, data science, right? That goes a lot more into it. And I think while there will be players who have bigger names like Tyreek Hill, Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, right? There are a lot of guys. Let's say Odell just breaks out and has an insane year, right? He could easily take one of the spots. There's a lot of players up there that could do it. Mike Evans, Devontae Adams, the list goes on and on. I think there's a lot of receivers who classify themselves in the top 10 that are looking to try and get in that top 5. So, but I think when you look at the 4, I can't recall who got, I believe Chris Godwin got it this year, the second team all pro. And I think all 3 of us don't regard him as a top 5 receiver yet, but he's definitely on his way there. And I think we all regard him as a top 10. So I think Adam Thielen Stephon Diggs is gone, right? Kirk Cousins looked a lot better throwing the football. And in that playoff game when he was healthy, Adam Thielen did do some really damaging stuff against the Saints. So
you think he's getting first team?
Oh, no. I don't think first team, but I think he'll make second team. Maybe first. I'm not sure.
I can understand that then. I think that's not a bad take at all. I mean, especially with the addition of Justin Jefferson, of course, I think that's only going to help them. I think they're going to use both of them in the slot just to see what works. But I just
think Thielen will get more volume than what he had with Diggs. I think they're going to look to him more. And as someone who's always overachieved, always been looked down upon, and he didn't even have a high like a college profile. I still remember this. He went undrafted. He's been working his way up. So I don't know. I think it's a really interesting. I was tempted to go with another receiver. I was tempted. There were a couple guys. There was Devontae Parker. I thought about even Allen Robinson. But I just think Adam Thielen coming back after that injury, and I'm a huge fan of his game. I think he has the potential to take it really far.
I think the problem with picking Adam Thielen for an all-pro team is I think that offense is going to go heavy run first with Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison. I think that they're going to want to pound the ball.
I think, Stefanski is not there anymore, and I know Stefanski was a product of Kubiak, who is still there, right? But, again, towards the end of the year, I mean, partially due to injury, but Dalvin Cook did average under 4 yards a carry, and that was very concerning for me. I mean, he did pick it up against the Saints. Frankly, everyone picked it up against the Saints for the Vikings, as they always do. But I don't know if Dalvin Cook's – I mean, he might get more volume, but keep in mind, Stephon Diggs was their number 1 receiver last year, and that's gone. That's a huge void missing. And he was key in revitalizing Kirk Cousins' passing attack, right? We all remember after week 4 when they lost to the Bears, Stephon Diggs immediately called him out, and essentially Kirk Cousins had a turnaround for the ages. So, I mean, obviously Adam Thielen's not the same type of guy to go out. He's not that big of a personality, but I mean, who else? Like Jefferson is still a rookie. I don't expect him to put Stephon Diggs numbers. So
Thielen's going to get way more targets too. So it's just I could definitely see it happening. I had a take about, if you guys are ready to move on, I had a take staying in the NFC. The Atlanta Falcons are contenders in the NFC, not wild card, contenders.
Like Super Bowl contenders?
I think just contenders in the NFC. Like they could potentially make the championship game. I don't want to go as far as to say Super Bowl contenders yet, but I mean we cannot be sleeping on the Falcons.
Essentially. Okay.
I guess
Jack,
so.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I think they have it all on offense. I'm a huge Matt Ryan, Julio Jones fan. I think if they can get half of what Todd Gurley was a couple years ago, that'd be huge for them. And Ridley's good, but I'm still not sold on Hayden Hurst, and I don't think they have enough on defense to be completely honest. They've tried to patch up the secondary.
No. Defensively, they're finally healthy. First of all, they added a massive threat off the edge.
Keep in mind
They
did pretty well defensively the second half of the year.
Look at their end of the year run too.
So that's why actually I'll kind of combine my take. I was going to write something down. I had the NFC South, not the NFC West, would have 3 playoff teams, and I think it's very kind of keeping down there, right? So
I think that's
only once I can. Only once I
take.
can remember. It was in 2013 when the Niners, Seahawks, and Cardinals all made the playoffs, right? And that was very rare because for that to happen, 2 teams had to from the same division had to take 2 wild card spots. Now, right, there's 3. So is it possible that Atlanta could sneak in 9 and 7
with the new format too? It could happen.
Yeah, and I think Atlanta's a very interesting. I can see them winning a playoff game. I think that's their ceiling. Jack obviously had them in the Super Bowl this year, but we won't talk about that. But like Jack said, I'm a huge fan of Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. I think they still have. I think Dan Quinn is a very good coach. I was very, very angry at the fact that they were even thinking of firing him. He's a very successful coach, and who came in from Seattle, who won a Super Bowl, and then came right into Atlanta. Changed their kind of play style and culture and really brought them back to the promised land. Obviously, the 28-3 thing, you could blame it on Shanahan. You could blame it on Matt Ryan for holding the ball. But, again, people want to forget that. So I think their ceiling is winning a playoff game. It's hard to imagine them going to the NFC Championship or further. But could they upset someone on the road? I think it's possible.
I'm a big Falcons fan. Yes, I did have them in the Super Bowl last year. Didn't happen. Made up for it with the Chiefs pick, though. I'm going to say
Falcons and Chargers?
Yeah. We don't talk about it anymore. But I think they could be a playoff team. I like them more than Arizona, just because I think there's more of a veteran presence there, especially at the quarterback position. I'm not sure I trust Kyler yet to get them to the playoffs, maybe in a couple years. But I think Atlanta can make the playoffs, but I'm not sure I can label them a contender yet. I'd label Dallas and Philly contenders before I'd label them contenders, to be completely honest.
Wait, but do you have – well, for Dallas and Philly, I don't have any takes on them, but do you have them as Super Bowl contenders?
I have them as possibility of getting to the championship.
Because like borderline. Because I have Philly over Dallas. I think
Philly is Super Bowl contender. Dallas is more of an NFC Championship contender.
Because – well, I don't even think Dallas could go that far. I'm not sold on Dallas. I have a lot more faith in Philly.
I think Dallas is a second round exit for me.
If I can get a healthy Carson Wentz, if I can just get that for a full year, and it's gotta happen at some point. Like if I can just get that, I'm telling you, the sky's the limit for this team. I mean, they went out and made all the right moves in free agency, right? They finally got their number 1 corner, who I think is going to absolutely thrive in Philadelphia. There's a lot of potential there. The receiving corps scares me though in Philly. But keep in mind with Deshaun Jackson there, right? The game against Washington, the dude erupted, right? In just 2 spark plays. No, I agree. So there's a lot of if ands or buts there, but I think if I can get a healthy team, that's why they went 9 and 7 with virtually no one as their receiving corps. Yeah. And think about it, they lost to the Dolphins and still went 9 and 7. And still made the playoffs. But that being said, kind of to switch it up to the AFC here.
Oh, my bad. Can I just circle back to Atlanta?
Yeah.
I just want to say one final thing about Atlanta. Dante Fowler, precisely the player you need in a division with 2 all-time greats at quarterback.
I thought it was a great pick.
Offensively, you still have an MVP quarterback, best wide receiver in football. They added an extremely motivated Todd Gurley, and I know it's quite an if, but if Gurley can stay healthy, he's still one of the most versatile, dangerous players in the game. And Calvin Ridley has legit star potential too. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Atlanta can go 11-5, in my opinion. You can make the playoffs, go on a run. Nobody's going to be mocking your uniforms at all because they're just going to be flying off the shelf at that point. So I definitely think that these guys can be contenders.
I think just one more thing before we kind of switch it up. I had another take, but just one more thing. It's for Seattle and Atlanta. I think those are 2 really interesting teams. I think Seattle is still torn up by that 1-yard line pick. I think it's still getting to them. I know it sounds kind of crazy. Yeah, the whole Malcolm Butler pick. I think it's still there because keep in mind they've kept quarterback and they've kept the coach. They've kept They've kept Bobby Wagner, who is their quarterback on defense. So they've kept most of their core since 2014. Obviously, they've tried to switch it up. But I think that lagging memory has just kept them there. And that for that same reason, I mean, I don't know if this – I didn't even have this down, but I don't know if Russell Wilson can win another Super Bowl in Seattle. I think it's – I don't know. I think that memory is very, very taunting. And for the same reason, I think the 28-3 thing for Atlanta, I don't see Matt Ryan winning another Super Bowl there. While could he make it? Could he do it? Yes. I just don't know. I think that memory is still very well in their mind. It's whether it's the memes or whatever, it's still present, right? It's you don't just – you were at the 1 yard line, right? If you're Seattle, you're literally inches away from a Super Bowl, right? And you just give it all up on one play. Same thing for Atlanta. You're a quarter away. You're up by 25 points, and it just vanishes. And within 30, 40 minutes, like that's very hard to deal with if you're an NFL team. I think football, especially as a sport with mental prowess, you need that. And I don't think Russell Wilson or Matt Ryan will win another Super Bowl in there.
I agree with you about Russell Wilson, especially with Arizona still coming up. I mean, give them a couple years. You still got San Francisco's they're still up there. I mean, yeah. I agree with you. I don't think Russell Wilson's going to win another with Seattle.
I mean, I think that division right now is 50-50 between Seattle and
then I'd give
they could make they've made the play. Listen, Russell Wilson has never had a season below 9-7 in 9 years. 8 or 9 years.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's only made. I
don't think they're going to go under 9-7 though.
No, I think.
Yeah, I think they could make. I think they'll make the playoffs for sure. I think they'll make the playoffs. Okay. They have a shot at the division. I think they'll win a playoff game, but I just don't see them winning the big game. And it's not a knock on him. He's not. It's not that Wilson is not clutch. It's not that Matt Ryan isn't clutch. It's just I think that whole memory, I think it's just really daunting. But if you guys kind of want to switch it up to the AFC, if I had to take, but if you guys want to give some. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. This one I think can go kind of quick. You guys might agree with me. I think TJ Watt should be the easy front runner for Defensive Player of the Year this year. I think
that's easy front runner. He's a front runner for me, but I wouldn't say easy.
I mean, I wouldn't be if you said if you told me right now that TJ Watt would be holding up a Defensive Player of the Year trophy in 2021,
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised. But there are players coming back, right? Like, I know it sounds a bit biased, but Myles Garrett, who was on his way to winning one before the whole helmet thing, right? There are other – Gilmore is still capable of winning another one if he puts up –
Assuming Bosa doesn't hit the sophomore slump, he could be there too.
Joey Bosa.
I think Watt, he had an argument last year for winning one, and I think that
he had a good argument.
Yeah,
I think he came in top 3. I think he was a candidate for it.
Yeah, he did.
Defense, you can argue as being one of the best, if not the best, in the league. And I think that with Big Ben back and maybe a little bit more revitalization on offense, I think that the Steelers will be more in the limelight this year, and Watt will be able to show off what he did. He just gets to the quarterback and he forces fumbles, which I think is a big part of the game.
See, if we're talking about I think TJ Watt's one guy, but I think who can easily win it. But I think we're talking in terms of Defensive Player of the Year, I think Stephon Gilmore has now initiated a mindset that, hey, DBs can win it. And I think you can watch out for a guy in Tre'Davious White, who I think if he can become more consistent and just a harder hitter, that's a guy who can really challenge Stephon Gilmore. Obviously, you kind of replaced him in Buffalo. That's a guy, hey, you got to watch out for. But I think TJ Watt, no question, should be one of the front runners. I don't know if I would put him number 1 right now. I think there are a lot of guys like Myles Garrett, Gilmore, Chandler Jones, who I think can contend for it. But I have no problem with putting TJ Watt at number 1. But it's
not a bad take at all.
Yeah. I think sticking with the AFC North here, my AFC take here, this one is a very, very strange one. The Ravens will not be a top 2 seed. And I know honestly, I would disagree with myself right now, but we're kind of doing bold takes here. Listen, so I was telling you guys this earlier, right? Like the Niners, the Ravens are now the hunted. No one saw the Ravens going 14-2. I had them going 8-8 last year. I'm going to admit it. I was horribly wrong. Everyone saw the Browns going crazy, right? People still saw the Steelers above them. People really saw the Ravens as the 3rd best team in that division. People did not expect Lamar Jackson to take this kind of step in the right direction, because after that playoff game for me, because I was a big fan of Lamar when he went 6-1 his first 7 games, but that playoff game was very, very discerning and very discouraging for me. And I thought Lamar Jackson could not really develop into the quarterback that we see right now. But he proved people wrong because they were essentially the hunters. When they beat New England, who was the hunted? New England was undefeated at the time, right? Baltimore comes in, and I think they were like 5-2, 6-2, something like that. Just storm in and beat them. They beat Seattle. They beat so many good teams on this incredible run, right? Now I know they have a very easy schedule. I believe they have the easiest set of schedule according to win percentage.
Yep.
But
very easy schedule.
But again, they're the hunted now. Teams are going after them. And when they were in the bright lights, their weaknesses were exposed by the Titans, right? In the bright lights, people saw what the Titans could do to Lamar Jackson. And they didn't really have a fast defensive line. That's what people thought was needed to stop Lamar Jackson. They didn't have – I mean, Jarrell Casey is pretty old. I think they still had Cameron Wake rushing the passer, 38? Like, they didn't have fast guys off the edge. And yet they were still able to plug gaps through the nickel defense. Different ways Mike Vrabel was able to get to Lamar Jackson, get to their running game. And not only that, they exploited their weaknesses on defense. If you can get those couple spark plays through the air, that opens up the running game. And I know the Ravens got a lot of pieces, and I know that, they should honestly. We all did a kind of record simulation, right? I think I had the Ravens finishing like 13-3 or 12-4 or something like that. But is it possible that they lose a couple games that they should have won and their weaknesses get exposed on primetime? What are you guys' thoughts on that?
See, I'm 50-50 on your take because here's the thing. I do think teams are going to figure out Lamar Jackson. It happens with so many mobile quarterbacks that come and go in this league.
I think he's still going to find ways to do it, but he won't have the kind of record-setting year that we saw this year.
Yeah, I agree. But see, here's the thing. Looking at their schedule and just seeing how much of a cakewalk it is, it's so hard for me to say that they're not going to be top two because obviously the Chiefs are there as the other seed. I'm assuming that's who you have over the Ravens.
Yeah.
Assuming
in my sim, I think I had the Chiefs and the Titans over them. But again, the Titans for me, they have a lot of questions. It's a very questionable thing. But they do have a favorable schedule. But I'm not even sure if the Titans can beat the Colts for that division. Now kind of looking at it.
We got to see the full season of Tannehill.
Exactly. I'm a believer in Tannehill. I know you guys really aren't sold on him yet. I am. I think after seeing him in Miami, that 10-4 year he put on before kind of going out and Matt Moore had to kind of lead the Dolphins in. I was a big believer in Tannehill. Obviously, he finally had a healthy year, one comeback player of the year. So I'm a believer in Tannehill. Again, this is a very, very bold, unpopular opinion. But can it happen? Can they get exposed despite having all the talent in the world? It's very possible.
It can, but I don't think it will.
We have seen countless times. Honestly, if I look back on each Super Bowl that we've seen in the last 20 years, I can guarantee you that the most talented roster has not won the Super Bowl in any of those years.
The thing is, you say coach, quarterback, and offensive line, right? I think they've got a top 3 coach.
They do.
I think they've got a top 5 quarterback.
So that's why I'm saying they're not. It's not like they're going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know if they would be a top 2. Can they beat Kansas City? I think Kansas City's had their number. Like, that's a loss right there. There's some games that they'll probably lose in the division that they should have won. Right? The Steelers have always played well against the Ravens.
And then because the Browns are beating them twice, right?
No, I don't know about all that. But I know that I'm a firm believer that the Browns will take one because they always have in the last 4 years. So I think they'll take at least one. But and that being said, could Joe Burrow just shock the world and go crazy and take a game out of Baltimore in a division matchup? There's a lot of ifs there, but I think
he's so unproven. Like
I'm not saying that's one of the losses that he'll have, but could the Ravens go 3rd seed 11-5?
It could happen.
I say it could happen. I'm not saying they're going to go 8-8 or anything crazy like that, but maybe not a 12-win season, maybe an 11-win season, and some team just goes crazy and takes the 2 seed over. That's mine.
I mean, it's possible. If you guys don't mind me moving on, I have one kind of over the whole league. It's a little bold. I'm going to say no running back will win MVP this entire decade.
Oh, for the whole decade.
No, I completely disagree.
Far ahead.
No,
I'm going to disagree.
For the next 10 years, no way.
10 years.
So in the last 10 years, we had one. Last 10 years, we had one. The decade prior to that, I believe I can only name 2 right now: Sean Alexander and LaDainian Tomlinson. I can't remember if we had another one. I don't know if Marshall Faulk won it. I don't think he did, but I know Sean Alexander and LaDainian Tomlinson.
Marshall Faulk won it. Yeah, he did.
He did? Okay, so that's 3.
Last decade, he did.
No, 2 decades ago, 2000 to 2010.
He won in 99 and 01.
So
The MVP? Something like, I mean,
MVP.
I know it was more than 2 or more.
It went
so
Falk, Warner,
I think it's a very, very, very bold take, but I can't agree with that. That's a very, like,
especially that
so
far
many
ahead in the
there's
future.
there's so many running backs now that just have insane hype and insane talent around them, right? Like, for example, I know this sounds a bit biased, but I personally thought Baker should have won the Rookie of the Year last year, or 2 years ago, but they gave it to Saquon Barkley because of his electrifying ability, right? And I know Christian McCaffrey, who had a 2,000-yard season, didn't even win Offensive Player of the Year. But I'm telling you, there's going to be that one running back prospect that you just cannot pass up, or like you cannot just believe in the hype. It's just they're going to be insanely talented, especially how we're looking, right? Each draft seems to one up the other. Can we agree on that in terms of talent all around?
Yeah.
Just not just quarterbacks, but
recently.
I'm sorry, what?
Not as much running backs though recently.
Saquon Barkley.
Wait, actually, Jack, I'm curious. What made
Christian McCaffrey was
you
only
go
drafted 3 years ago. So there's a lot of new prospects that have been Nick Chubb, Christian. All of the running back prospects have been, except, I mean, Derrick Henry's even borderline because he really didn't get going until
I was talking more about the last 2 years. I mean, it's been declining running back talent. I mean, we got Josh Jacobs, and this year, I mean, J.K. Dobbins.
That is true. That is true. But I think that's kind of an exception because 2017 we got Christian McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette, list goes on and on. I think we had a lot more in there. 2018 we had Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, obviously. 2019, yeah, we had Josh Jacobs. We didn't have much. 2020, same thing. But for the
we
next
got to give them
10 years, exactly. 10 years, I think, is a very, very bold take. I don't think so. I think
what I would say is it's a passing league, and it's becoming even more of a passing league. Running back by committee seems to be more popular.
That is true. But there's going to be, I'm telling you, there's going to be, records are just meant to be broken. There's going to be some, honestly, you could change this into another take. I think a running back might break the single season rushing record. Adrian Peterson was very, very close. I believe he was a couple 10 shy. I think he was like 20, 30 shy of it. But I think someone will break it in the next decade because, again, it's just the NFL is becoming overwhelmed with talent. And the running back committee, yeah, it worked for a couple teams. But, again, there are just some teams that just need that bell cow running back, right? Like, can you see Christian McCaffrey splitting it with anyone? I don't think so, right? Same thing with, like, for example, Le'Veon Bell in Pittsburgh. They didn't – I mean, yeah, there was D'Angelo Williams, but as soon as Bell came back, Williams was essentially gone. So I think that's a very, very bold statement. While it could happen, I think it's very, very unlikely that not a single year out of 10 where a running back doesn't win it. But
it's just looking way too far ahead into the future.
Yeah,
I
think it's
I can't say the opposite.
Yeah, goal, but I'm going to stand behind it. I think that was maybe the most confident one I had of the three.
The most confident one. Wow.
That's the least confident I would be on any of these things. Maybe the Ravens top 2 seed thing, or maybe even Thielen the All-Pro, but I don't know. Like, that's 10 years going down the road. I really don't know.
So I did have a take going back to the NFC West. Sorry, we have to go out of the AFC, but it was that the LA Rams will be one of the NFL's worst teams and a contender for a top 3 pick.
Wow.
Because
top 3 pick is
or top 5.
I go top 10.
Even then, top 10. Yeah, no way. Listen, the Rams are
one of the NFL's worst teams. That's what I'll say.
I agree with that.
Look, see, that's something that could be very broad. Like, what does that mean? You see them going 5-11?
Goff has not been the same.
Okay.
Since that Super Bowl. Andrew Whitworth, who knows how long he can go. Todd Gurley and Brandon Cooks are gone. Mm-hmm. Of course, and I don't think the support isn't there on either side of the ball, actually, because Aaron Donald is still a football monster. Jalen Ramsey's still good. But in the last 15 months, that D has lost Fowler, Eric Weddle, Corey Littleton, Ndamukong Suh, Marcus Peters, Aqib Talib, Nikel Roby-Coleman, and LaMarcus Joyner. They're a shell of their former selves in almost every way, in my opinion. And Arizona and San Francisco look stronger than they have in years.
They're probably not going to make the playoffs, but they still have a lot of talent. Like, Cooper Kupp's finally healthy, right? I think he was battling some injuries last year, but yet he was still a candidate for comeback player of the year. They still have Jared Goff, and I know he's not that great.
Goff isn't that good, though.
I've been arguing with my friend about this a lot because he's a huge Cal fan. But yeah, I don't like Jared Goff. I don't think he's that good.
I'm
But
just saying,
you still-
in the toughest division, in the tougher of the two conferences, I feel like the Rams are just screwed from
But
now
is
and
it-
going forward.
see, but top 3 pick, top 5 pick.
I'll change it to top 5. Top 5.
Okay, that's still. I think it's very, very iffy because there
I
are
don't trust their
teams that
defense
could.
anymore. I
there's
don't
so
trust
many-
Jared Goff.
There's so many teams that are on the cusp of being very bad. The Jags could be a 3-13, 1-15 team. The Lions could hit that spot.
Raiders.
I would hate this, but the Panthers maybe. I don't know how a Teddy Bridgewater would work out. Some actually believe in them. I don't know. I've never been a huge Bridgewater fan in New Orleans, but there are some teams, right? Like Oakland, you said, or sorry, Las Vegas. But I don't know. I think LA is gonna find a way to win some games. I think they'll probably hit that 6-10, 7-9 mark.
Yeah, they strike
But
me as a 7-9 team.
Yeah, not even.
I think they're going to be
it's-
worse than they look. Way worse than they look.
yeah, that's true. But they've still got a lot of talent, and Aaron Donald is a guy that can have that.
But
type
then
of
again,
impact on
there's talent that they lost too.
That's
They're
true.
just a
That's
shell
fair.
of themselves.
It seems
That's
like
fair, but
it seems like
their
a 7
draft
and 9
wasn't that
year
bad.
that bridges to maybe a 5-11 year next year. I think they're on the down.
Oh, they're on the decline. Yeah,
they're
sure. The
going
roster's
downhill.
aging. The roster's aging, and
They messed up with the Ramsey trade. They
and the contracts they gave
we
out.
don't care about our
Yep,
future when they
contracts that they
traded for
gave out.
Ramsey.
I think the only I mean they're trying to salvage it, but see, it's hard to get first round picks in this league.
Yep.
They tried to salvage it with Cooks for a second, but while that was a good trade on their part, I don't know. I don't know what they can do. I don't know how good this offense can be without Todd Gurley. What am I getting from? I think Henderson's I don't even know their
Cam
starting
Akers
running back.
maybe?
It's uncertain.
It's so uncertain.
It's so much
But-
uncertainty.
The top 5 pick I think is too big to say, but could I see the Rams starting to decline? Most definitely, and I think this is the year that they kind of start heading downward because they were 9-7 last year, so it wasn't like they were terrible. So I think 7-9 is more like their ceiling, but I think time will tell.
Yeah, we had a ton of fun making this episode. Some really interesting takes. We'd be really interested in doing another one of these episodes. So if you're on Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star rating. It'll really help us out and grow. We actually have a website. If you have ideas for hot takes, sign up on the email list and send us an email. Let us know some hot takes that we can include in the next episode. Or if you're on YouTube, leave it down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching the episode. We'll see you next time.